Hey, we are live. I'm giving my dog a treat, so she will hopefully be quiet for a little while. My not so tiny puppy that I showed off about a month or so ago, she is now huge. I've given her the nickname of Moose.
Fantastic.
She's about 30 pounds and just a moose. Yeah. So, Steve Conley, fellow creator of tabletop RPG stuff, comic books. And we just found out before we went live that we have a mutual like of something that we won't get into on this stream.
Twitch.
Yeah. So how the hell are you, Steve Conley?
The hell am good, Dan.
Hella good.
But more importantly, well, I should do the intro. My name is Steve Conley. I write and draw the webcomic The Middle Age, which you can read at middleagecomic.com. It's on Webtoons, Tapas, and Go Comics. Episode 297 was posted on Monday, and you can read it all for free if you go to blah, 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 the links I just mentioned. And as a birthday, little book birthday for the zine edition, look at that spot varnish on that stuff in the front.
Shiny.
So the 24 backers of my death dealing Kickstarter who ordered just the zine, nothing else, will get this, a sticker, and a little letter from me in the next few days.
Nice. As far as my crowdfunding news goes, we needed it $3,000. We hit $3,006.
Perfect. That's like calling your shot. That's like saying I'm going to hit this number, and you're like, perfect.
It was a nail biter. Yeah, it was extended for 2 weeks, so we did have that little help. But yeah, it succeeded. I'm still waiting to hear from Zoop on who pledged and what all the details are. It finished on Friday, and I haven't heard from them yet. So
it ended at an odd time, like late at night, right?
Like midnight Thursday night Pacific.
Okay.
Like Friday 3 o'clock your time in the morning. Yeah, so it was weird. I mean, I went to bed going, well, I hope nobody cancels, because when I went to bed it was 306 or 3006. So
I don't think you can cancel with Zoop.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah, right. It's like, oh, but it's so interesting. I don't know if I was going to ask you all about the Zoop experience, but I'm not sure if you're still in limbo about that.
I have no idea. I still to this date do not know who pledged. I have no list, which is fine. I'm not stressed about it. I'm just glad it's over.
Right. Did you do a blog post like, hey, we did it?
No, because I don't know all the details really. So I just did a thank you on all the social medias.
Gotcha. I wasn't sure if you would, because remember when they initially did their alert, like, hey, the campaign is live, that I'd signed up for, and I never got that note. And I'm wondering if there's, if you have been doing blog posts and I haven't been seeing those either.
No, I as far as I know, they haven't announced it to anybody. I know if you go to zoop.gg/Star Marshals, it pops up funded.
Yeah, that's nice.
That's all I know. So I have no idea. So I'm not stressed about it. I will talk about it maybe next week if I find out more details about it. But yeah, I just got to tweak a couple of the back pages. Like I told everybody, the main 40-page story is all done, lettered, ready to go. I just got to finalize those last 8 pages, and I think all but 2 were finalized. So, I still might want to play around with it and do some, more meta ads and things like that. I don't, but yeah, so Star Marshals is for the most part put to bed, other than, doing all the bullshit part of it of sending out the books and getting them printed and,
production bits.
Yeah, the production bits. Did I say bullshit? I meant production.
We're not monetized anyway. I don't think we're fine. We're fine.
The part I hate, the part of the crowdfunding campaigns that I hate, the actual work of it.
Yeah, that's such a big thing, and it used to be a bigger thing where everybody, all the when we were coming into comics and coming into gaming, there was some people, TSR was bootstrapping it. They were doing their own stuff. They were like mimeographing it, but they were kids. They had no aspirations about being, at least initially they weren't trying to beat Avalon Hill, right? They weren't trying to beat Parker Brothers. They were just like, hey, let's do this thing. And eventually they went, wait, maybe we could be the biggest game company in the world. But initially it wasn't like when we were going, like the idea was you'll find an editor will find you and you'll be published and you don't have to do any of that stuff. Marketing, ads, you just send in your creative, you just be creative. You send your creative stuff. Maybe it's not even proofread, maybe punctuation. Who cares? You're such a creative genius that you can just send the raw material, the raw ore to an editor and they will refine it and then it'll be published and you don't have to think about it. Now it's like you're the marketing person, you're the, you have to do every part of it. It's
exhausting.
It's exhausting.
And especially if you're like me, who's got, a billion projects, you got to wear 4 or 5, 6 hats for each project. That's 4 to 6 billion hats I got to wear.
Yeah. I don't have the neck strength, frankly. My noggin's already disproportionate to the rest of my body. I don't need more hats.
And my head is so big anyway, it's hard to find hats to fit them. So
Right. You don't want to cover the Titans hat. No.
Well, actually, I'm wearing, this is I flip it around, but I got the headphones on. It's the Trash Pandas minor league baseball team. So fantastic. They're out of Birmingham, Alabama. Not Birmingham, Huntsville, Alabama. And they're an Angels affiliate team this season. So, and it fits. So that's why I'm wearing it. And I haven't shaved my head in the last couple of days because I've been busy. So anyway, so that's enough about my personal grooming. As you can tell, I don't do much of it because of the length of my beard. I am a little out of it this morning. I went to the Guns N' Roses concert in Nashville last night.
Fantastic.
It was Guns N' Roses. They were a bucket list group I wanted to see. And, 36 years ago is when Appetite for Destruction came out, which I believe is the greatest rock album ever made. I'm not saying Guns N' Roses is the greatest group ever made, but that single album is boom, a banger. And, Axl's been through some things in the last 35 years, but he was good. I mean, Dad bought Axl. I mean, he's not that svelte little guy, singing about Paradise City like that anymore. But Carrie Underwood was on the bill too, and I've never seen a Carrie Underwood show. I'm not a Carrie Underwood fan, but she played Motorhead, so she did Ace of Spades. So
that's amazing.
I had a good time. And you notice the new mug?
Very nice.
That is to celebrate the fact that the Zero Level Media Patreon is up and running now. The first post went up this morning where I kind of give a little preview of Sword and Board, Tavern and Inn, which we talked about last week. Not much there, but go ahead and,
And how do people find it?
Patreon.com, Zero Level Media. That's what the numeral 0, LVL Media. Fantastic. And if we get enough people talking on our chat, it'll pop up on the bot. So.
Oh, that's great.
So it won't pop up on the bot. Oh, and speaking of which, we are now on not only Twitch, but YouTube and Facebook this morning. So,
well, hello, everybody.
We're syndicated. So that's me in a whirlwind. Let's see.
Well, congratulations on the crowdfunding campaign. I know it was a nail biter. I was refreshing the page off, and I know you don't get stats or add your own Google tracking to it, but I was checking in regularly. I'm like, come on.
Yeah, I got a lot of friends that before I even noticed, people were messaging me saying, "You did it! It's done! It's done!" And I think one of the pledges they had is like a tip jar where you can just put money into the project, and I think that's how we got our last $100 or so. People just went, I'm tired of Dan's goddamn social media post about this. Let me just get it over with. But I appreciate that. I think 10% of my $3,000 was just people just going, here's some money. Just shut up for a while.
That's so funny. It is interesting that they show the tip jar. It seems to be like they treat it like each dollar is an item.
Yeah.
It showed because from the outside, from the consumer side, which might be the same as the producer side, I don't know. It showed like X number of purchased items, and it was like, wow, your biggest seller was the tip jar. It was like I think that's a lousy way for them to. It should show here's how many tips, not how much, not how many individual dollars. Right?
Yeah. I mean, and I saw what you saw as a consumer. I have no other extra dashboard or peek into what's going on or anything. It's what you see is what I saw. So will I do a Zoop campaign again? I don't know.
I did like that they extended it 2 weeks. I thought that was very civil. I thought that was like, that's very creator friendly. I don't feel like backers are upset by that. You know what I mean? Because it's
I would
not
hope
like,
not. Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't think they're like, well, I'm going to back this, and if it doesn't make the goal, screw him. I don't know what negative. You know what? I take that back. I think in a smaller project from an indie creator, that's probably fine. I think there are some people, if they had done that, some larger companies, if they had done that, I think a lot of people would be like, oh, really? Kind of like they just hate they like if a Matt Colville did that with a $2 million campaign and then suddenly they added 2 weeks, people would be like, they get grumpy about it. I don't.
Well, and I know they extended a few of their other ones like that were doing really well anyway. So they just went, let's just extend it and let it keep going.
And I like that they asked you. I mean,
yeah, they asked me if I wanted to extend it or lower my funding goal.
But it's great. It's great. I think that is the best thing I've heard about them.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So that's all done. It will help my bank account because I did pay for everything beforehand. So
that's right.
I mean, I paid thousands of dollars to get this comic book made and promote it. And now, I'm going to get some of it back. Am I going to make any money off this? No, not at all. But
you made table.
I made table. Yeah.
That's the were you able to pay for your table? I paid for my table. And the thing is, when you're done, you're going to have inventory. You're going to have, that's
if I might not have inventory. I mean, I might print just what, who knows? I'm going to work all that out later.
Well, you had like 50 kits, right?
Yeah, I've still got plenty of those.
Yeah. So you'll do great.
Hopefully.
Congratulations.
But when they give me a list of all those people that just put dollar amount in, if they paid enough for a kit, they're getting a kit.
Oh, that's nice.
Because they didn't realize how cool it is, and it is so effing cool. You'll get one because you gave me a cover because I got extras.
That's awesome. Well, I saw all my zero level and catacombs and comedians merch right here with my the cool stuff.
The cool pot. Yeah, your desk must be as cluttered as mine.
No, that's oddly. I mean, it does have some stuff like mini kits and stuff like that. I think I'm making some time today to paint some of my minis for the first time.
Oh, good for you.
See how that goes.
So that's my projects. That real quick. Yeah, real quick. The Patreon's up and running. We'll see how that goes. And
the focus there is all RPG work.
All RPG work. I want to, I'm working on the sword board. Is going to be a very detailed tavern and inn to utilize in fantasy campaigns with a focus on Dungeons and Dragons and Tales of the Valiant, but it'll be usable for any campaign really. And then, I'm thinking about maybe, doing another Patreon level where, I'll DM games, but we'll see.
Wow.
We'll see how my time works out. Like right now, there's not a lot of Catacombs and Comedian shows going on through the rest of the year. I do have one next Sunday in Huntsville, Alabama at Stand Up Live. Get your tickets now. Stand Up Live, Huntsville. And then I do have a show this Wednesday night at Knoxville at the Central Cinema in Knoxville, Tennessee, and tickets at the door. So there you go. Those are my, I think I've covered everything. Guns N' Roses to my shows to my Patreon to the size of my dog.
That's great.
What do you got going? No. You got to carry the rest of the show.
Yeah, happy to. What questions can I answer? The production on Death Dealing is great. I mean, everyone has my money basically right now, so it's just a matter of getting all the stuff in. The hardcover books have shipped. They shipped a little earlier than I expected. Anyone who's going to be at the Baltimore Comic-Con in 2 weeks and they back my Kickstarter campaign, even if you didn't, the Death Dealing books will be available there. The deck of cards, I don't know about. The company seems to do good work, but they are so far they run silent. I don't get the updates. Every once in a while, I get a status update, an automated production email about what phase of production it's in, and currently it's in production, and that's as much as I know. So for all I know, I'm going to get a note that just says shipped.
Yeah, probably.
So that's the only. So the deck of cards is the only thing that I don't know when it's going to arrive, and that's kind of the biggest that I sold more decks of cards than I did anything else. I mean, everyone who backed it physically got a sticker. So there's more stickers than anything else. But some people just got the zines, some people just got the hardcovers, but most people got the deck of cards and one of the books, hardcover, zine, or some people just bought. Some people just got the deck of cards and the PDF. They just wanted the cards. So it's interesting. I think I'm printing 350 decks, a lot, but most of them are going out the door. So it's pretty exciting. And the next Kickstarter is queued up now. Kickstarter approved the campaign page, so the coming soon page for Metadomain. The Metadomain Cleric is alive, and people are signing up. They're queuing up. If anyone goes to prayershandbook.com, they can be added to the priority guest list. I don't know what we're calling it.
Where are the cards coming from? An overseas printer? Or?
No, Mel, I don't know. They're a company in the States, but for all I know, they farm their production out someplace else. They might just be a broker. But they had all the features I wanted, which was high quality cards. Like not just I've had some printed by some smaller print on demand people like Comics Wellspring, Greco Printing, and they do fine work. When I did my stat cards for the miniatures, for the minis from the Middle Age, the stat cards were done by them, and they did a lovely job. And what I would say is that the excuse me, the curved corners are not perfectly consistent. It feels like it's print on demand. It feels like it's artisanal and like hand done. Like maybe they have a machine that does it, but it's not perfect. So it's not like a true deck of cards where you can't play poker with these things because it's almost like they're all marked already. Because you go, oh, I know the one with the sharper corner, and that one's got the rounder corner. I really need these to be perfect. So I went with a higher end company. This is like poker quality cards. I mean, I'm not sure if the magician Richard Turner would accept them, but they're pretty great. By the way, that's a documentary I recommend everybody check out. It's on Tubi. It's called Dealt, and it's a close-up card magician named Richard Turner who is amazing. It's maybe the documentary is 10 years old now, but he is all day long. He's playing with a deck of cards. Those 10,000 hours, he has 100,000 hours. He lays in bed and he's just cutting cards. And he lost his vision about 30 years ago. And he does the most amazing close-up magic. He knows which card he's dealing you no matter what. You can't mess him up. It's called Dealt, and it will blow your mind. And the guy is it's just he's doing sit-ups, he's doing crunches every morning, and he's got like a deck of cards in his hands, and he's just cutting the deck and riffling through the cards and all that stuff. Like, it's stunning. So check it out. But he showed his deck of card closet, and he's like, it's just a walk-in closet, piles and piles of decks of cards. So anyway, I'm not sure these cards would pass muster, but I like to think they come close.
Okay. I will check that out. Anything again, I don't know what to do. This might be a short show.
So well, what can I say? If folks are here on Twitch and checking this out, you can always follow me on Twitch. I stream on Tuesdays and Thursdays, 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. most days. Most Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Eastern, 4 p.m. 7 Eastern.
And I'm sculpting. The next thing I'm sculpting is the cleric for Metadomain. I think I have 107 people queued up at the moment, which is more than I thought we'd have at this point, given that it's not going to launch for a month. But I'm happy. I still haven't heard from Gamehole Con. I wrote them enough time. I feel like I've badged them enough. I'm fairly certain I'm not getting a spot there. I don't think I rate with them yet. Any
loser Steve Conley doesn't rate?
Apparently not.
Okay.
My money's no good. But I'll try again. Maybe it's the contact I had there was not. Maybe they are overwhelmed. It seems like it's a very small event, but we've done enough small conventions that we know that it's almost always volunteer staff. People are terribly underpaid, and at some point, for all I know, there's just this guy's guilt-ridden about responding to me because he keeps dropping the ball.
Yeah, I just got another confirmation that my show is definitely a go at Game Hole Con. It's going to be that Friday night, 6:00.
That's great.
I don't know how. I'm sure plenty of tickets are still available.
That's
it's
great.
a 40 people, an audience of 40. So,
what is your plan for? You're working on the Patreon right now. Do you have what's your next RPG project, or is it just going to all be serialized through Patreon to start, or are you planning a bigger Kickstarter or like a bigger crowdfunding thing?
not really. I think I'm just gonna Patreon. My Patreon's going to be where you see what I'm creating and what I'm doing. I think I might just see how that goes, and just the finished products will end up at Drive-Thru RPG or etc.
That's great.
Because I want to, Star Marshal's comic book succeed, and I got all that artwork. So I'll probably work on that. I've got 4D20 is still in the works. That'll be a definite zero level media product. I want to do some good streaming shows. I want to do one for Tales of the Valiant when that comes out, or just before it comes out. I think it's too early to launch a Tales of the Valiant stream right now because they're still figuring things out for the game itself. But that's got a title that's going to be called Yarns of Yore.
That's great.
And then I got another idea. I've been working on a logo for my Wormageddon campaign. And again, the reason to do like Wormageddon, that's WYRM. And it's kind of like, you remember that Reign of Fire dragon movie?
Sure.
It's like that, but set in, a fantasy medieval world where dragons have completely are in the process of annihilating the entire society.
Is that a product you're going to work on, or is it an actual play? Or both?
Both.
All right.
I figure it'll hopefully be an actual play that I work on, and the stuff I create for the actual play, I will just put all together and release it as a product.
Is there anything from that you've posted update on Patreon today? Is there anything there you want to share?
It's just the one post where I talk about, it's an introduction saying, hey, I'm going to do I'm doing let me post a link to it, see if it shows up. My page. Let's see, I don't know.
Oh, there it is.
You see it?
Yep. Is that a public post, or is that a paywalled one?
Public.
Sweet.
So yeah, that just popped up on all of the places we're streaming on. So
fantastic.
I even talk a little bit about the movie Bad News Bears in there. So that's the sort of content you can expect from me. I mean, you go on your tangent about blind card magic movies and documentaries, and I talk about Bad News Bears, the greatest sports movie ever made.
Really? Is that you? That's the greatest one ever made.
That's my opinion. Yes, I believe It's the greatest sports movie ever made. The original, not that horrible remake they did.
That's great.
I'm talking Walter Matthau, Tatum O'Neal.
Sure, the 70s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was 77.
It's before my time, Dan.
Same year as Star Wars.
I've been saying that a lot lately. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm too young to get that reference. Like someone's going to say something about like Airwolf or something else. I'm too young to get that reference. Star Trek: The Next Generation. I'm too young to get that reference. My back.
Yeah, but other than that, I've been a single parent this week. My wife's been out on a girls' retreat, so
nice.
I haven't had a lot of time to work on stuff. So,
did you look at that? I sent along Badge Quest, that Kickstarter. That looks.
Yeah, I've been following that as well. That's totally in my wheelhouse, isn't it?
I thought so, and I really like that they that patches are a thing that are fairly inexpensive to make. They're because of the nature of them. The designs aren't intricate necessarily. Yeah. So I love that they're working patches into it. Thematically, it works. The whole thing is really sharp, and the art style is charming. And I really feel like next year, depending on when that comes out, I feel like next year's Any Awards is going to be just stunning work. between Flea Mortals from MCDM and Matt Forbeck's Marvel. I mean, I think it's going to be a crazy good year for
and Zero Level Media's Sword and Board Tyrant in.
Yeah, and mostly Zero Level Media's Sword and Board. But I do like that. I think that's the way to go. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago. The idea of just treating it like the old style Dragon Magazine and all the different fanzines, how Dragon Magazine would just produce this content and the really good stuff would be collected later on inside Unearthed Arcana or some other book.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's absolutely the way to go.
That's my total plan. And like I said, I've got one tier level for the Patreon at $3, and that's, a month. And you're basically buying me a coffee, a 7-Eleven coffee, because I'm not a fancy coffee guy.
And are you sharing? How are you promoting that? I mean, I know social media is garbage right now.
I'm really not. I'm telling you.
Are you going to share any of it to Reddit? I know you're trepidatious about Reddit.
If I'll try, and then they'll shut me down and say, you can't do that here. Bye.
Yeah, I feel like I was having this conversation with some cartoonists last night and a late night Zoom. Let's call it a gripe fest. Standard cartoonists sitting around working and bitching and moaning. But it was like talking about social media and how it's so smarmy most of the time. It's a million people yelling buy my book. And so the algorithm's like, this is a horribly unpleasant experience because people they just want to go online and look at pictures of cats. And here we are all going like, meh, meh, meh.
Yeah.
It feels like they're walking through a medieval market and people are just trying to sell them their wares. So I understand why they're kind of like, hey, leave people alone. That's what the algorithm is doing. It's pushing us into the corners because we want to use social media to sell. We're not as bad as the big marketing weasels. But...
They're pushing us into the corner because we're not paying to advertise.
Oh yeah. If we want to put up a billboard, they'll take our money.
Yeah.
But with basically they know ads are intentionally unpleasant, and the marketing weasels have ruined it for the rest of us. So the thing was absolutely resolved is that the best thing we can do is give things away. And I know that sounds like a terrible business plan, but I feel like our medium is broadcast. Our medium we are TV. We have to give our stuff away and then sell the Blu-ray editions. We sell the DVDs, but we're broadcast. We're giving it away. Maybe there's an ad next to it. But I feel like we have to give away X seasons of Seinfeld before it catches. We have to give away how many seasons of MASH before it catches. Something from before my time. But I think that's the only way for us to do this is to just take this sword and board content. You take something, a magic item, an NPC, and you share it.
And a lot of it on my Patreon will be free. Like here's the background information on the owner, whose name is, let me look it up. I just came up with it this morning. Ganug Ironcraig.
Was that?
Gesundheit? Ganug Ironcraig.
Ironcraig.
Nug to his friends, but he doesn't have any friends.
Is that the character on the cover?
Yeah.
Nice.
And so if you don't support my Patreon financially, you can still go there and say, oh, here's his background story. If you do support my Patreon, you'll get the high-res one-sheet stat block and all that sort of stuff.
That's wise, because I was thinking about it in terms of like the YouTube channels that I like, and so many of them are like, this is free. And I mean, Matt Colville is a great example. Gives this stuff away for free, and if you want to support him on Patreon or his Kickstarters, you can do that. Or the Dungeon Dudes, twice weekly videos, and then they have a Kickstarter for $2 million.
Yeah.
I think just the ability to produce stuff more quickly is the biggest hang up. I wish I could produce stuff of quality that quickly.
When I do 4D20, when I'm ready to release the game, it will be a crowdsourced crowdfunding thing. Because I think that warrants a release. But if you back my Patreon and follow it for the next year as I get it all together, you might not have to buy it because you can piece it all together
Right.
through the Patreon.
Do you know what you're going to do for Zine Quest? Are you going to do Zine Quest next year?
I don't think so.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Leaving me out there. Leaving me out there to fend for myself in the wilds.
Yeah, this last crowdfunding really kicked my ass. So
Star Marshals?
yeah.
Yeah.
So I think I just want to, for a while, and I just said 40/20 will be crowdfunding, but that's probably, 9 months to a year away before that's ready to go. But I think for a while, I'm just going to just concentrate on the Patreon.
That's
making
great.
content, because if I build enough content for that, maybe the next Zine Quest I'll have enough followers where people, it'll be worthwhile.
Does Zero Level Media have a website that's not? Is it just a URL that points to Patreon?
Yeah.
Are you? You've given me some advice, and I've taken it, which I think is the.
You're gonna give me some advice?
That's from Ratatouille. That's when Linguini thanks. Thank you for the advice, and she says, "Thank you for taking it." It's. I feel like that's a lovely moment. It really lovely moment. You could tell that the creative people did that movie because those are the moments that they sneak in there. No straight screenwriter would just put that in it. The sales funnel, the idea of once you have any amount of this, it could be your tea room, it could be that dice bard class. You set up a page where someone says they enter their email address and get it for free. I think you need that. I want you to have an email address. I want you to have a mailing list, and give people one of the things you've already made. It's already done. Sign up for a mailing list and get the tea room. And so you get their email addresses, and then you'll have it that is going to be worth its weight in gold. And the most, next to content, the second most important thing you could do.
Okay, I'll do it.
Sweet. Because I think you're going to love it. You're going to love it. And plus, if the tea room, and you just put something really as the tea room is a great example, but maybe you have another one that you think might be the perfect thing, because if you give people something that is really Dan Taylor when they sign up, and you email them and say, hey, there's more Dan Taylor here, they'll be like, oh, I like Dan Taylor, I want more of that. I feel like that's absolutely the way to go.
So to my OnlyFans page is what you're saying?
Maybe
there's more Dan Taylor there.
That might be too much Dan Taylor. You want to give them enough Dan Taylor, but not so much. At least on a Sunday morning, that's a lot of Dan Taylor.
That is a lot of Dan Taylor, especially at their night at, watching a rock show until
after dark. Wait, so how late was that show?
I got home about 11:30.
And your missus is out of town?
Yeah.
Did you go solo?
Like I said, no, I took a buddy and I went, but the guy I work with, my intern, my Catacombs of Comedians intern.
That's great.
My 35-year-old intern.
Did he know who they were?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I'm mostly kidding.
He's well versed in music. But he had no idea who Men Without Hats were, so I introduced him to that.
Were they? Did they open up for him?
No, it was Carrie Underwood.
Right, I was wondering why Men Without Hats
would open up for GNR. But yeah, no, she stayed, and then Jean Louise. My buddy has a daughter, so Jean Louise hung out at her house while we were at the show. But yeah, so the wife comes home tonight. So after I'm done with you, I got to clean the house for Katie, but when she gets back, so
it's been clean the whole time. Absolutely been clean the whole time.
Yeah. 2 dogs, 2 cats, and then a 7-year-old daughter.
I know you had 2 dogs. That's a lot.
I got Scully, my original Chiweenie. Chiweenie, he's asleep down here on the floor.
Do they get along?
Yeah, they get along great. And then there's Moose, or Jolene. And we had 3 cats up till about 3 weeks ago, until we put Quint down. So, but yeah, I mean, that's it. I'm so looking forward to. But I Forgot to mention I'm almost done with my next draft and hopefully my final draft of Pirate Tales.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Are you still high from Gen Con? Are you still excited about? Okay, so
very much so.
I know the exhaustion of running a crowdfunding campaign is sort of like saps your strength, but I was hoping that didn't get in the way of your the kind of the enthusiasm you blasted out of Gen Con with.
No, I'm still very much, and I believe like Sword and Board will show off that enthusiasm. I bought a new I bought a new bookshelf to put all those RPGs that I bought at Gen Con.
That's fantastic.
So yeah, so it's all good. It's just the time to do it all, right?
Yeah.
That's the hard part.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm super happy that the new book came in. That they look appropriate next to one another. That's a matching set. I think the printer I used mixed them. They did a lovely job. I'm happy everything came in as quickly as it did. There were some delays with the previous printing. Everything shipped UPS. I was worried about that. I thought that was going to be a problem this time. In the middle of August. I think this is a thing. Intoximancy was a one-off. Now we actually have a sequel, and so the next one after it, Metadomain, will hopefully complete the set. I'm so excited.
Complete? What's the fourth?
The fourth, the set will be complete, and as we keep coming up with more, there is a druid subclass. There's another wizard subclass. I think people wanted me to do every major, like a subclass for each class, but I have another wizard. I feel like, again, I don't care if I mix things up. But the goal really is, my focus has to be on Metadomain. It has to be the best one. It has to be, I don't know. It's just, if I can't, I don't want to be distracted. Where we fight all the time. We're always being pulled in different directions. What is it? Oh, this would be fun. This would be fun.
Yeah. No, that's my major problem. That's why I don't finish anything.
And how do we fight that? So it's like, is it just enough mazes, but too many muses? Is that the?
That's a good way of putting it. Or is it the muses actually getting us lost in the maze?
Lost in the labyrinth of creativity.
Yeah.
Is there? Is that? But how do we? Because I know the webcomic is kind of my thing. I think of myself as a cartoonist. Whenever if there's a week goes by and I don't draw the Middle Age, I feel like I am betraying myself. I feel like it's putting lie to the phrase I'm a cartoonist if I'm not cartooning, and I love it. I drew the latest episode of the Middle Age. It's goofy. The drawing is hilarious. It makes me laugh. It's my happy place. And I love the D&D stuff too. Part of it, the appeal of that for me is that it's successful. Something I don't really a feeling I don't often enjoy in the comics world.
I hear that.
And so, and successful is like, it's Steve successful. It's Matt Mercer bankruptcy, but it's Steve Conley successful. And the response to it's been very nice. Oh, I did get a wonderful criticism from somebody for death dealing now that it's at the printer.
Of course.
It's basically only the cornerstone of the whole subclass. That's all. It's just the cornerstone. The death dealing deck is a thrown weapon, right? You throw the cards. That's what you do with it. You throw them. 5e's rules for throwing suck. The way to fix it is to make it a ranged weapon. It's all solved by that, because basically by making it a thrown weapon, you give permission to the dungeon master to interpret it, because those rules are vague.
Right.
And that's the problem. Whereas the rules for ranged are extremely explicit and clear. So I have to change it. The errata, there's going to be the first errata for the death dealing, and I haven't even gotten the hardcovers in yet. And it's basically changing the weapon type from thrown to ranged, even though they're thrown cards, even though darts are thrown darts. Those are ranged weapons in 5e, because 5e is clunky and dumb.
I'm trying to figure out why you didn't do that in the first place.
Why did it make him a ranged weapon?
Yeah.
Because I didn't imagine a scenario. Well, first of all, they're thrown. So to me, just in terms of the English language and in terms of it's a sort of reason why you have to make weird rules about vehicle travel in 5e, because it's not solved. It's a small section that doesn't explain itself very well. And the same thing with thrown items. It's a tiny section that's not explained very well because they didn't think that part through. So it's not so much that it's not that it's not a thrown weapon. I think everyone would say a shuriken and a
boomerang, a dagger.
But you can throw a dagger, and that's really kind of the problem they had, is that they made it so that what if a person has a sword and they want to throw it? And I think that's where they ran into suddenly throwing something, then doesn't have what is the modifier for it in the damage type? And that's where they lean on strength all the time, because again, 5e is clunky. It's great, but it's clunky. And so by changing it to a ranged weapon, even though you throw them, it solves the technical problem while making it less artful. But so be it.
Oh well, that's what happens when you play in someone else's sandbox.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I don't mind that. Of all the good, it's print on demand. The next version of it will have that. Also, it'll the same thing with Intoximancy. Intoximancy has an issue with the flagon unintended consequence of if you use an item as a spellcasting focus, your flagon functions as a spellcasting focus, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then when you use it as a spellcasting focus, it gives you +1 damage. +1 to hit and +1 to damage, and I think it increases your spell save DC by 1. No, it doesn't do damage. +1 spell attack bonus, but +1 spell save DC. If you're using it as arcane focus, what if the spell doesn't have a material component? That's when you use it as an arcane focus. And so by saying, and when you use it as an arcane focus, what I basically mean is when you're holding it. So even if you're going to cast Firebolt, which doesn't have a material component, like this is so dumb that we have to think in these stereo instructions terms. But thank you, Chris Perkins, you lovely person who sits on couches and talks to my friend Dan. Because they have to write it in this legalese, we have to be lawyers. Or we get counseled by our readers.
Oh, and nothing like those people. Those people. I didn't mean the way that came out, but
yeah, I love them. But there's that Seth Meyers thing about calling his commenters on YouTube jackals.
Yeah, trust me. I mean, fans are passionate for a reason, and it gives them carte blanche to beat the living crap out of creators.
Yeah, it's great
for the stuff that they do, who created the stuff that they love. So,
and it's my fault for not posting it to Reddit, because if I posted it to Reddit, they would have savaged me a long time ago. So I'm going to get better about that. So
you're telling me to use Reddit as my editors?
Oh gosh, yes, absolutely. If you want to find a flaw in your work, you want to find flaws that don't exist in your work, but some that do, I recommend it. Absolutely, they will tear it apart, because I posted a cantrip that was so well received because it was very simple. But even then, so in Intoximancy, there's a cantrip called Cheers. Real simple. You for Intoximancers, it's kind of like Vicious Mockery. You cast it, they do a spell save DC. If they fail, they take damage, and it eats their reaction. Right? That's kind of cool, because it's something. There's another one that Shocking Grasp. If you hit somebody, they lose their reaction. So I thought basically a low damage ranged reaction eating spell. So as a wizard, you hit the person with that. Now they don't have the reaction. You can get away, and they can't do their opportunity attack. They can't counter spell. Pretty cool. I do that, very highly rated. Then I posted a creature. I posted like the Hobgoblet, and holy crap, because if you include a CR and in their heads the math doesn't line up, their algorithm, that kind of like Goodwill Hunting algorithm that kind of flies by their head, they're like, no, that CR rating is off. That should every creature is too powerful or too weak. Everything is terrible and great. It's so
CRs are so arbitrary too to begin with.
It gives them an invitation to tear you apart.
That reminds me, another reason I don't have much to talk about this week is because I've been playing Baldur's Gate 3.
How do you like it?
I like it.
You should have led with that. That's good for numbers. That's good for.
You should have just watched me play while we,
Yeah, for sure.
I like it. I keep starting over because I'm like, oh, I should have done that. Let me try it with this character. So I'm not too far into the game yet.
And it's a PC game, right?
Yeah. Yes. And it takes up a lot. I had to dump some stuff to put it on my machine, but it plays just fine.
How old's your desktop computer?
A year.
Oh, okay. So it's you have pretty good
I just had all these unfinished projects I had to move to. Pretty much, I needed to free up disk space is what I had.
I want to play video games, so I'm going to delete all my work.
So I just put it on another drive, and a lot. I got so much. My desktop is pretty much just a collection of fonts with other stuff. I'm a font goblin, really, to be honest with you. I love my fonts.
Fontgoblin.com, get it.
And so I've been playing a lot of that, and it's very D&D 5e rules. I mean, you roll for everything, and I think it's going to help my dungeon mastering. Because I'm like,
really?
They did a roll for that, a check for that. I should do that for my games too, rather than just say yes they do it or no they don't.
When you play it, you start off by saying, do you want to be a fighter, wizard, bard? That's right.
Yeah, you can play one of their characters, or you can make your own character.
And are the character classes the same as 5e?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, there's some tweaks and stuff to make it gameplay, but for
people said it was that they have like all these various trees you can try. I mean, all these conversations you can have, and that they have recorded voices for all of them. And
I've maybe got an hour into the game, maybe 6 different ways, and they've been different ways. If I go down this path or have this conversation, it's completely different. So
people have said, there was a YouTuber who was saying, like, hyperbolically, because everything that YouTuber says is hyperbolic. They were saying that this was like one of the pivotal moments in the history of Dungeons and Dragons, since like there was 5th edition, there was the open gaming license, and there was Baldur's Gate 3 in terms of the history of Dungeons and Dragons as this inflection point. And the reviews are wonderful. Do you think people will play Baldur's Gate 3, get a handle on 5e, and then go play Dungeons and Dragons? Or is it a thing where now you could say, hey, do you want to play D&D? Don't worry, you've played Baldur's Gate, you know how to play it?
Nah.
Is there anything about it that makes it feel like a person is getting a crash course in how to play 5e?
Not really. I mean, it very much is that. But I just think it's going to make video games better. People will follow the model of the Baldur's Gate 3,
right, and
utilize things. I mean, it's a rock solid game from what I've played so far. Maybe there are aesthetics that I wouldn't have chosen as a creator. All those goddamn tiefling bards.
What don't you like about those? That they're just not old school?
I don't know what it is. It's just
it rubs you the wrong way. Is there a but you don't think there's a case that can be made at a convention? Let's say it's a comic book convention, like not a gaming convention, because the gamers are all like, okay, if you're going to a gaming convention, you're already in the club, you're already speaking our language. But at a comic book convention, did you like Baldur's Gate? Come play Dungeons and Dragons. Is there a segue there where we talked about the D&D movie?
I was just going to say that. Yeah.
We talked about that as being, well, I don't think we did, but a lot of people thought, hey, there's a D&D movie that will bring people to the hobby. And I'm like, citation needed. There's no evidence to support that Star Wars made more people play a Star Wars RPG.
I don't really think I think it's going to be very good for the company that made the game. And I think video games will go, people will say, look what they did. Let's do something very similar using tabletop mechanics for games a little more closely.
Because you literally roll dice, right?
Just the D20. I mean, you don't, like, if but not for every attack. Or I don't roll for damage. I don't roll for attacks. If I attack something, it randomly decides the number. But like if I'm going to try to use persuasion, it'll say make an ability check. If I'm going to pick a lock, it'll say make an ability check. That's when I roll the d20.
Interesting.
In the game.
And do you know your modifiers? Do you know you have a +3?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Though for that, it doesn't I don't know when I'm attacking. It just says, it gives me a percentage on what I, chance to hit.
Gotcha. So they've done that math for you.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's an interesting concession in that those designers realize that skill checks and saving throws, if someone hits you with a magic bolt, or
it just says made my saving throw, or didn't make my saving throw.
Wow. Okay.
Only for skill checks does it do you pretty much roll.
That's neat.
Yeah.
I'm on a Mac, so I can't play games, and I wouldn't want. I mean,
yeah,
I don't have enough to do.
It sucked all my time, and then I've got Starfield, which is a game I've been waiting years for. Comes out in 2 weeks.
What is that?
Next week. It's like the Elder Scroll or the Fallout of sci-fi games.
Dude, will I see you again?
No. If you follow my gaming channel, yeah, then you will.
Nice. Well, we I think, did you say that next week you're not available because you've got an event?
No, 2 weeks. 2 weeks from now, the same week you're gone.
Oh, okay. So we'll be here next week.
Yeah, we'll be here next. Well, I might be playing Starfield.
Well, just play it and just stream it, and I'll be in the corner. We can talk.
Yeah. What? Huh?
What was that? What did that just? I love watching people play games. I just don't want to do it myself because I know my life.
And then there's another game called Skylines, Cityscape Skylines, that I just love, the original, and the number 2 comes out in October. So yeah, I'm glad Catacombs of Convenience is slowing down for the rest of the year, and I don't have a crowdfunding thing going on because I'm gonna relax with some, and I'm gonna hopefully finish my novella in the next couple of weeks, and then I might take the rest of the year off, other than getting stuff ready on Zero Level Media.
That's great. And by taking the rest of the year off, you're still producing. How often do you want to produce content for your Patreon?
Every other day, hopefully. I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
See, now we're talking. That's not taking the year off. That's actually building content in bite-sized ways. I feel like that's the best way to keep your energy going, is to keep, like, it's a webcomic. If someone said, hey, can you make a 300-page graphic novel? I'd be like, no. But I've done 297 pages of one because I did it 1 page at a time.
No, that's exactly how I want this to be. I'm not working on sword and board for the finished, 84-page product at the,
right,
to put it for sale. What you're going to get is 84 entries on, things. Like I came with an idea this morning about some gargoyles that are looking for their long lost master, like dogs. Showing, just I'm going to start all these ideas. I'm going to start funneling them into Zero Level Media and see, where they fit into the pieces for various.
I love it. I was thinking about that with those Dragon magazines and all those White Wolf games. It's like, how many of those articles were basically like, okay, I'm sure somebody wrote a character class for a, I don't know, butler, the butler class. And like, no one's ever done it. Like, it was an article. It was fun to read, but it never got collected. But I think the idea of just putting all this stuff up there and just cherry picking your favorite bits.
Yeah. And hopefully people cherry pick stuff that they want. And then that'll give me an indication of what I should put into products.
Brilliant.
I'm not brilliant. Steve, I'm making this shit up as I go. Really, literally. I just made that up about made that up for talking to you.
It's a line my girlfriend and I talk about all the time. She says, there was a friend that was a filmmaker. They were a film exposer. They never put the film together. It never was finished. And we could see something that's bad. We got, man, that's a bad movie. But you know what it is? It's done.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what it is? It's done. And I think that's the most important thing. Nothing else matters, because if it's not done, who cares? It's not a thing.
Very true. True words have not been spoken. And we should end on that.
All right. Have a good day, man. Good luck in Baldur's Gate 3 and with the doggies and the housekeeping. And
I will talk to you next week, and hopefully I'll have some really exciting things to show you from the Patreon, or at least I'll be able to tell you what happened on Wednesday night in Knoxville, at the Knoxville show.
That sounds good. And maybe I'll have more. Who knows? Maybe I'll have a deck of cards to share with you, or at least a hardcover to share with you.
All right. I look forward to it.
Have a great week, Dave.
Peace, everybody. Thank you, and may you all make your saving throws.